Assalamualaikum and very good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Faculty of Social Science and Humanities Adjunct Professor Lecture Series. We are very lucky because yesterday we have a topic disseminating on research through high impact journal, some challenges and also strategies. And today we have even more special topic, the Cempaka stories by Dato Freida Mohd Pilus. And tomorrow we will have sorry, not tomorrow, sorry, on the 13th, on 9 in the morning, we have the sharing by Dato Habibah. So, School of Education are so happy to bring all this amazing lineup of Professor Adjunct to share the wisdom and to help us to improve. And I believe everyone should be benefit from this sharing. So for those who are first time with us today, please like the video and share this video. And for those who are in the YouTube, don't forget to like and also subscribe, as well as to share this sharing with everyone. So we are very fortunate because our chair of School of Education, she works hard to find this amazing Professor Adjunct series, and this professor would like to share those very, the wisdom behind everything that they have gone through all these years. So before that, let's me welcome our chair of School of Education from Faculty of Social Science and Humanities, Professor Dr. Fatin Alia Pang with us today. Welcome, Prof. Fatin.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum and good morning. How are you?
Yes, great, fine. How about you?
I'm fine, thank you. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for emceeing this session this morning.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity of bringing this wonderful adjunct professor with us.
Thank you for helping. Okay, Assalamualaikum and good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Adjunct Professor Lecture Series. This is our session, our second series of the Adjunct Professor. We'll bring to you today Dato Freida Mohd Pilus. Before she ends the show, let me just introduce Dato Freida Mohd Pilus. If you look at the picture on at the bottom there, if you can see the picture there, all right. She looks like I don't know. You can have a guess how old is she, but I can tell you she doesn't look her age. She's extremely active, enthusiastic, energetic person. I think at her age is like I don't know. I'd be like sitting at home doing nothing, but she's still doing very well, still going on. You know, she's the founder of the Cempaka Schools. If you know Cempaka School, that is the first private international school in Malaysia. She will tell the story, how it started, how is her struggle, right? And at the same time now, she is the president of the Malaysian Society of Educational Administration and Management. And she's also the president of the Malaysian Society Association for Private Schools. So you can imagine how busy is she, but she still can join us today. And for our lecture adjunct professor, we have appointed Professor Keith Tabor, representing the academia in education. Dato Freida, she's our adjunct professor from the industry, from the private school sector. And we have Dato Habibah Abdul Rahman, the Director General Education Malaysia, who will be from the representing the government sector. So for today, you will listen from our adjunct professor, Dato Freida Mohd Pilus. So let's welcome Dato Freida Mohd Pilus to join us in this lecture series. Welcome, Dato.
Assalamualaikum. Thank you very much for having me this morning to talk about my story, about the Cempaka story. It's a story of 37 years that I started this school in 1983 until now, and it's still going on. And Alhamdulillah, I'm still able to partake in everything that is Cempaka and Cempaka.
Yes, this is very amazing. I think something very amazing that there's so much that we can learn from the experience of 3 decades of working on Cempaka School. I think something from us, we are from the school education, we nurture teachers, we train teachers. I think we have not been looking enough on the private sectors from what we've been doing for our teacher training. So I think there's a lot that we can learn from you. So I think if you can share with us how you started it, the struggle you've been through. I know it's not easy to start something new and come out to have like now 4 branches now. Cempaka School, how many branches do you have now? Yeah, 4 branches.
Well, we started. If I could go on, We started in 1983, actually, with a school in a bungalow. Maybe you can show a photograph of the school.
Okay.
This was
So
in
I will.
Bintang.
Okay, I will leave it to Dato Freida to tell the story. I think it would be a very interesting story to listen to. Hope everyone sit down, relax. I know the Cempakans are here also listening to our Dato speaking. I give the stage to Dato. You can show us the pictures, and I'll come back when we come to the Q&A session. So don't forget to key in questions in the comments. Let us know what you want to know. You can also give comment feedback on the lecture today. So now the stage is your, Dato.
Thank you very much. Well, like I said, I started this school, Cempaka, in 1983. We were the first actually to start a private national school, not an international school. So this is our Bukit Bintang school. We started with 30 children and 5 teachers. And I started the school actually not as a business. I wouldn't consider myself an entrepreneur, actually starting a business and as education as a business. It all started with me as a mother. I think, thinking is the best teacher for her children. So I've got 5 sons, and the main reason for starting the school actually to educate my children. And I've no background at all in running a school or even training teachers. The nearest thing I could think of being in a training setting or a learning institution when I was in Intan. When I was in Intan, I trained village heads, pengurus, district officers, assistant district officers, and we had to go to the kampung and teach the village heads and the pengurus on how to identify projects, how to evaluate projects, and so on and so forth. So that was the nearest that I can think of me in a setting of a training setting. But the funny thing is about me, when I was young, a lot of girls would like to play with dolls, main masak-masak, play house. But somehow, I actually love to play school. That's the Damansara campus that you're showing now. Not yet. Let me talk about my childhood. So I like to play school, and I used to get all the children in the neighborhood, to come to school, and I was the teacher. And I remember I used to wear my mother's high heel shoes and her clothes. And in those days, the teachers were so beautiful, and you'd like to be like them. That was the inspiration then, to become a teacher. And I had my little sort of a classroom in my house, and I did that. That was what I used to do, play school. But that was a long time ago, and I don't actually sort of relate to what I'm doing now. But when I started the school in 83, it was all for my sons. And that was a mother's wish, a mother's vision to give the best education for her children. So we started with, I had this idea that, first of all, there must be a sense of bersatu. That is our motto, bersatu, berdisiplin, dan berdikari. We had a national private school, so the medium of instruction was Bahasa Melayu, and there was no problem really, So bersatu, meaning we have to be united. So the idea that all Cempakans in the school then and now, and I think it goes on, that we do not discriminate because of color, race, or religion. We have to be united in everything that we do. And then discipline. Everything, the core to everything is discipline. Discipline in yourself, discipline in everything that you do. So I wanted that. And then berdikari. Berdikari is also very important. That is to be self-reliant. You must be able to be independent in thought and mind and deed. So that was the main 3 things I wanted Cempakans to have. And then how do I do this? And I thought the best thing is to challenge the mind. You need to challenge the children's mind. You need to keep it active. You need them to have this idea of being curious about everything, curiosity driven. That was the main idea. So with discipline, that comes with hard work, and of course, to challenge the mind. So assessment became central to what we did then, and then strengthening the body, not really like, becoming an athlete or something like that. But I talk about a body corporate, meaning there must be esprit de corps in the school. So everybody must have a sense of belonging to the school, proud of the school, and bringing up the name of the school. Even our school song has a line which says, Cempaka harum semerbak merata-rata. So whenever they think about themselves, they must always remember they are Cempakans. They must always uphold the name and the reputation of the school. So it's very important to strengthen this body corporate. And how do we do this? How do you bring about a sense of esprit de corps in school? Through games, through sports, contact sports. Because you see, when you have contact sports, so you have games, you have sports, there is this idea of, you need to come together, you need to be united to form strategies for your house. So we have 4 houses in the school, red, yellow, green, blue. We have harimau, seladang, beruang, and helang. So until now, Cempakans, when they leave school, their identity, their house identity goes with them. So that has sort of created a very, very strong bond. So when you have that, when you have this esprit de corps, the school esprit de corps, children become united. And it's not just the school children, the staff as well. They are also part of a house in the school. Even the gardeners, everybody must have a house. And when we have any event, you are identified and defined by your house. So that is how we created an esprit de corps, very strong esprit de corps. The third part of our Trinity is about learning, understanding what is art, appreciating what is art, appreciating good music, appreciating and being grateful of what you have, and then using that to help others. So using that to nurture your heart, to nurture the sense of giving, to learn the joy of giving. So we do a lot of charity work. So all in all, mind, body, and soul, we develop Cempakans. And the mind, the challenging of the mind, strengthening of the soul, strengthening of the body and nurturing the soul, this is the core principle of what we want in all Cempakans. So I wanted this for my children, and then it went on that other people got attracted to what we believe in, our vision, and then they sent the children to school. Now the first decade, that is from 83, 93, when we first started, was in a small bungalow. It's a very small place, and we didn't have much money then. People go to business school and they learn management by objective. When you go to business school, they teach you management by objective. But I think I learned to manage with little money. So it's management with little money. So a lot of the things I did myself, even cleaning the school. And I even got the children to paint the school. I got my nephews to cut the grass. And I actually got the Pudu prisoners to make the chairs and tables. I'll buy the wood, and they will design the tables and chairs, and they made it. So it was cheap. It was very cheap then, because we didn't have money, and it was very difficult because banks did not have a category for schools, because there was no such thing as a private school. So it was very difficult. So I had to do a lot of things myself. I had to clean the school myself, and then even teachers. We couldn't get actually trained teachers because they're all in the government schools. So I got a lot of teachers from universities who've just come out and they wanted a job. And then I meet them training teachers, and they were paid very little actually, I didn't even pay myself anything. And in the bungalow, we had to use every inch of the bungalow into a classroom. Bedrooms became classrooms, storerooms became classroom, the sitting room became a hall for the school, and I had my little office under the staircase. So you see, it was management with very little money. And I'm so happy that at that time, we could manage with only 25,000 ringgit as overdraft from the bank. And I had to stretch this, So I had one of my sisters-in-law to cook lunch, and I had to do practically everything. And Alhamdulillah, we managed to do it well. It was a small school. And in those days, it was very difficult for people to actually understand that a school can go private and a private school can be a very good school. So in order to bring people to school, I had to actually drive a school van and even a school minibus to go and collect children, When parents say, in those days they call me Mrs. Hamza. Mrs. Hamza, your school is so far. This is in Bukit Bintang. Your school is so far. And, we can't send our children to school. I said, not to worry, I'll send the school transport tomorrow. And voila, they see me outside, waiting for their children. And they said, where's the school transport? I said, well, this is the school transport. And after a while, I think they felt bad, that I personally got to go and fetch them. And they sent their children to school. So in the first place, the first 10 years, when you talk about the business, it was more a market-oriented kind of concept. It was market-oriented, because I wanted to give what the market wanted. I was a mother, a working mother. I was working in the government for 13 years, and then I resigned, 24 hours, resigned, and then concentrated on the school. But at the same time, I also had my own broking firm. So I used to go to school in the morning. And then after that, when the market opens, I go to the broking house. And then when it's closed at 3, I go back to school because school finishes about 3:30, 4 o'clock, And then at 9, I'm back in the broking house. Oh my goodness me. It was like I was like working so much in those days. It's like a jet plane, I think, going from one place to another and doing so many things. But then I was very young. Then I started when I was 35. So I had a lot of energy and the idealism within me, wanted to do the best and so on. Then that's how I started. Now, to get the license for the school is another thing. And in those days, I'm not sure what to say whether it was easier then or now, but then in those days, people were not concerned about private school. People did not think of it as a money-making enterprise. So nobody actually bothered, and it was, I knew people in the Ministry of Education because before I resigned, I actually worked there for a while. I started my service in the Foreign Service, and then my husband, that's where I met my husband, and we were supposed to be posted in different parts of the world, and I didn't want that. I didn't want to leave my job. I didn't want to resign. Actually, in those days, you need to resign if you have to follow your husband. You cannot get a no-paid leave. You have to resign. And I said, oh no, I've gone this far, I'm going to university, and I want my own career. So then both of us opted to the home sector, and I actually went to the Ministry of Education, and Tun Mahathir was my boss then, So I was there for a while before I went to Intan. So I knew people in the ministry, and I knew at that time Tun Hamdan was the DG, and then the deputy DG was Tan Sri Murad, the late Tan Sri Murad, and Tan Sri Rahman Arshad. So I knew all these people. And they would say, "Oh, Frida, you're so crazy. Why do you want to open a private school? Who's going to pay to go to your school? After all, school is free." And I said, "Well, it's not really a business. Actually, I want it for my children. So I need this school. I need to do this." So I said, "Okay, why don't you go and see Mr. Kambu?" Mr. Kambu then, the late Mr. Kambu, he was then in charge of schools. So when I went to see him, he said, "Well, we don't have a category for private schools. There are no private schools. You want to open a primary private school." He said, "Well, okay, never mind." So he actually sort of, gave me the green light. Now, in order to open a school, you need a building. So I went around and I got this old building in Bukit Bintang, which was a restaurant, somebody's house a long time ago. It was empty for a couple of years, so it was not in good condition. So I had to clean it, I had to repair it, and this was done, with my children and people that who can help me. So I did that, and in order to get it certified for a school, you got to go to DBKL for health inspection. You got to go to the bomber for fire inspection. And in order to do this quickly, I was actually the office boy. I'll bring the forms, I'll go to DBKL, get it done. In fact, I got the man in charge of hygiene and cleanliness inspection. I took him my car, went to the school, went to the building, and get it done, because otherwise, if I were to wait for him, he might take a long time to come. So I said, "Never mind, I'll come and I'll take you and to the school and have a look." And I waited for him and then sent him back to the office. And I did all this just to get it done quickly, because you see, when you start a school, you have a timeline. If school starts in January, you cannot start in March. You have to start in January. So time was tight. So I had to do the running around. I had to be the dispatch boy. I had to do everything. So that's how we got the license. And then, of course, then you've got to do, you've got to advertise. And we don't have money to advertise. So in those days, it was just a small advertisement in the papers. And we did a flyer using the gas techno machine, going around like that, and then sending it to the neighborhood. And I had to train my niece, who was only Form 3, on how to answer the telephone. In those days, you don't have a handphone, so you've got a landline, and then I've got to prepare the text for her, and so on and so forth. So I did almost everything: the marketing, the PR, taking children to school, cleaning the school, and on top of that, interviewing teachers and training them. And I don't know whether you could say that it was, to a certain extent, an advantage that I was not creep, into this idea that this is what the books say, this is what the theory about education is about, and you have to follow that. So I think I was quite like a free agent in having my own thoughts, my own vision to put in place. And to me, I think to a certain extent that was an advantage, because then I could see what I wanted to do and I could put it together. I could implement it. I could make sure that my vision is on the same page it's a shared vision with people who were in the school at that time. And I still have many of them now who have been with me for more than 3 decades. So I think to a certain extent, the strengthening of the body corporate has been so good that we all feel that we are proud Cempakans, So that was the first decade. And from the time we were in the bungalow, I would go everywhere over the weekend to look for a piece of building to build a school. Every time when I see an empty lot, I see a school. When I see an estate, a rubber estate, I see a school. So my husband actually, he will pick me around, going all over the place looking for a piece of land that can be converted to a school. And that was quite an adventure that I know every part of Kuala Lumpur, because we were going everywhere to look for this piece of land. And Alhamdulillah, we found a piece of land in Bukit Damansara. And also, I was very lucky because at that time, it was the recession. So with the recession, land and property was not that expensive, and I could bargain for the price to go down. And then once I identified the land, and then I've got to go to the bank to get money to buy the land and to build a building. Then to do the building, I had a friend to come up with a design. I didn't like it. I went through many designs actually. So eventually I got an architect, who was good, who could do this, Mr. Leong. And I was also very lucky because he was a very young architect and coming back to Malaysia. And this is one of his first project. So a young man, first project. So there's this idea that this will be his masterpiece, So we worked very well together and we designed this school. Now, how to get money to build this? I went everywhere. I sent all my applications to all or practically all the banks in Kuala Lumpur. One banker even said, "Well, Freda, if you have 1 million ringgit, then I can lend you 1.3 million." And I said, "Well, if I have 1 million ringgit, it's very easy. I can go everywhere and anywhere to get this money." And this banker was my friend actually, So eventually, somehow, another banker managed to look at our project and gave us 1 million ringgit. The whole thing cost 1.3 million at that time. So this banker said, "Freda, I believe in you. I believe in your idea of a school. And because it's also my belief that education is very important and education is an investment. So I will lend you 1 million ringgit." Then I was thinking, 1 million ringgit is not enough because I need 1.3 ringgit to build the school, So what can I do? Well, I've got this piece of land. It's a very small piece of land. It's only 1.2 acres. So it's very small actually. But the architect was very good. We built outwards, so we had capacity. Then I was again very lucky. In Damansara Heights, then it was a new area and they were building houses around this place. And the contractor that was given this contract to build houses here said, because of the recession, he didn't want to let go his workers and his equipment, his machinery. So he said, "Okay, never mind. I will lend you 300,000. I'll give you credit 300,000. So Alhamdulillah, I got the 1.3, and I've got to get 640 students to break even to be able to pay Mr. Kong of Legrand the 300,000 credit. Bless him. I was so lucky then, So by July, we got 640 students and we managed to pay off the 300,000 credit to the contractor. And then, of course, the bank gave us 1 million and slowly we paid off the bank. So you see, it is when you do this, to do business and to do well, I think it's not important to be the biggest, I think what is important is to be the first one to do it. The first one to do it. But also, it doesn't mean that if you're the first one to do it that you'll be successful, because it's a long journey and you have to be adaptable all the time. You've got to follow the flow of change and evolve with change. And then I think you can be sustainable. So all along, I think I would say I was very lucky. I could do this because it was the recession. I could afford it, And also it was a lot of hard work because there's so many things to be done. And I was doing it on my own. But when we first started, the first 10 years, I think the focus was on discipline. The focus was on academic work, because I wanted the school to be known for its rigor and work. So there was a lot of homework given to the children. All our timetable was designed to make sure that hard work is put in place in the schoolwork, homework. Parents got to embrace this idea that discipline is very important, work is very important. Teachers got to remember that, if they do not give work to the children, it actually will reflect on them that they are not working hard. So in order to do this, I was also like not only the Guru Besar, I was the Minister of Education, I was everything central to what good education is all about. So I went on being very, very strict about work by the teachers, and I actually make them do lesson plans, very detailed lesson plans, and every weekend I will bring back loads of files, boxes of files, to go through each and every one of this lesson plan. And I was like a big cikgu, with my red pen and my green pen, correcting their work. And then they'll be so terrified if I were to put in their work to say, please see me, with an exclamation mark. Wow, I was a very guru sangat garang at that time, That was the first 10 years. And I think it was very important to have this foundation of hard work, of discipline, And then after that, we built our school. If you could show the Damansara School. Earlier on, we had the house. And then we have the Damansara School. This is the Damansara School, Damansara Heights. This is still a national private school, medium of instruction, still Bahasa Melayu. But the difference is, when we taught English, we followed the British curriculum for English. So 1119 English was the stay for the school. So I bought books from Singapore, from UK, and so on. And so the standard of English has been very high until now. And this school is built on 1.2 acres of land. So it's a very small piece of land, but we build capacity by building upwards. Now, another thing, in all our schools, we have a swimming pool. Why? Because swimming, you can have more than 4 people playing in the pool. If you have badminton, it's only 4 people. We didn't have a big field. At the back of Damansara School, there's a huge public field belonging to DBKL. So we use that, we rent that, but we have our own swimming pool. Even when we started in Bukit Bintang, we also had swimming as part of the school sports. We used to rent the Chinwu swimming pool, and there's another public pool nearby, so we'll ferry the children there for swimming. Swimming is very important in terms of a life skill that people should learn to swim. Even if you are in a landlocked place, you need to learn to swim. And also it's very good exercise and so on. So we do swimming in all our schools, and we also have state swimmers in the SEA Games and so on. So swimming is central. So in all our schools, we have the swimming in the middle of the school building. So then when we were in Damansara, the next thing I wanted to do was performing arts. So performing arts in the 90s was part of our curriculum. And again, I took that risk, I took that plunge. I believe that performing arts is very important, and we introduced performing arts. But of course, when we did this, we had to increase the school fees because it's expensive. You got to employ professionals in the various components of performing arts. We have music, we have vocal training, we have theater, speech, and drama. So I've got to have professionals to teach this. So it's expensive, so I had to increase the fees. And of course, parents meaning that they think that, well, what happened to science and maths? while singing and dancing. So a few of them actually left the school, but I took that chance. But then later on they came back. Many others joined the school because they then realized that performing arts is very, very important. Another thing that we also have in school is Mandarin, because even in 1983, I believe that China will one day be the biggest economy in the world. And voila, it is now. They're the biggest economy in the world, and I think it's very good for all of us to learn Mandarin. Besides that, even from 1983, I thought computer studies, I thought technology is very, very important. So even in 1983, we actually taught children how to use the computer. We had only one computer. I remember we bought a Commodore 64, and then we had one teacher. He had to read the manual, he had to learn, and then come to school and teach. And our school children, they were only about, let's say, 8, 9, 10 primary school children. They were learning a computer language. So we taught them basic actually. So they learn how to do input, output, the loop, and make all the statements and come up with programs. So they were doing a little programs, and I made them do a program on our school school books, the school bookshop, to find out how many books we have, pencils we have, and they had a program for that. So can you imagine, in those days there was no software, and the children learned this, and they could learn this. So, and now we're thinking about it. I started this in 1983. So again, the second decade, technology has always played a very important role. In those days, you don't have wireless system. You don't have your handphone. You don't have Mr. Google and so on and so forth. So a lot of vendors, they discovered that I'm very big into technology and computers. So all of them will come to sell computers, hardware to us. And then in those days, we had the LAN system, local area network system, rather than now you have your wireless system and so on and so forth. But the problem is this: when I had them, a company will come and say, oh, they can do this, they can do that, and so on and so forth. I said, okay, all right, Anthony, you can do this from Apple or from Dell. And we had the system. We did it because I really believe in it, and I wanted to invest. So we plow back money and then did it. But after sales service was not so good, because you see, the person who introduced it to us, when he sort of leave the company, then we'll be left high and dry. So it was very difficult. But whatever it was, I still went on, and because I really believe in technology. So all the time searching. And then, the second decade later on, we were looking for a learning management system. And we did studies from Australia, and we did other systems. And again, it was very difficult, because when you rely on other people, when you leave the company, and then you're stuck. So my children were very young then, I've got 5 of them. And then they went to university. One went to medical school. One went to architecture school. One law school. One finance and management, and one culinary and management. And finance. So I thought, well, who's going to help me run the school? Because there are all these various fields that is not related to education. But Alhamdulillah, again, they all joined the school. They all love working with me. So I have got the perfect succession plan, which is very important, I think, when you have a business or when you're doing something. And I'm just wondering, why is this? Maybe because, you see, they were, so to speak, born into the school. They were with me all the time. Like I said earlier on, we were market-oriented. We gave what parents wanted. In those days, parents didn't have help at home. So when we had a full school from 8 to 3:30, parents send their children to our school, because then they are safe in school. doing something really good, meaningful and worthwhile, having a proper education. And then when they are home at 3:30, 4 o'clock, parents are home. So I was really market oriented. What they wanted, I give it to them. They wanted rigor in education. I also believe in that. That was how we started the first 10 years. The second 10 years, we added all the beautiful things about education. We had performing arts, we had visual arts, we had expeditions. In those days, sports, just athletics, maybe, running and what you normally do in most schools, and maybe a little bit of camping. But the second part of our second decade, we went into serious sort of school extreme sports, in the sense that we went for expeditions. We've got the water expeditions, everything they do related to water. They learn scuba diving, they learn kayaking, swimming, of course, and diving, and everything to do with water. And then after that, they do mountain climbing. They conquer all the little mountains, all the big mountains in Malaysia. At the end, they go to Mount Kinabalu. And then we have what we call the last one is we have bronze, silver, and gold expedition. They go through all that. And then we have the last one, which is the platinum expedition, which is a 5 nights, 6 days, where they have to go scuba diving, they have to cycle, they have to run, they have to make something. And at one time, they went to Terengganu to make keropok lekor, and then after making, they have to eat it, and they have to. It's a race, like amazing race, And then at the end of it, they go to Mount Kinabalu, and so on and so forth. So with this idea of expeditions, again, as pre-decor in school, it becomes even more stronger, it's strengthened further. And we always say, friends you make in school last forever, and a Cempakan will always be a Cempakan. So the second decade was very much about that, making it whole, because you already have a very strong core of discipline, of hard work, of knowing yourself, on how to berdikari, to be independent, at the same time to be united. And then the second part of it is to make yourself learn about life, to learn to be grateful, to learn about the idea of giving, the joy of giving. So they learn the joy of achievement, the joy of giving, and to be together, to do this together. And then the third decade, then we talk about the 21st century school. What is the 21st century school? The 21st century school, of course, we talk about, we learn to adopt and adapt. So I read a lot of books, I travel a lot, and every time when I travel anywhere, I'll look at schools and see their best practices. But we must understand that sometimes it's the best practices of the schools in those countries, but it's not ours, because we have different problems. Even in my school, okay, I have a school in Cheras and I have a school in Damansara. At that time, like I mentioned, it was a national private school. These two schools, they have different background, okay? They come from different kind of families. So they have different strengths and different weaknesses. So you have to look at that, Like for instance, Damansara children may be very good in language, maybe very good in English, Cheras children are very good in mathematics. So what do? So maybe in Cheras, then what we did was we increased the time for English and reduce the time for mathematics. In Damansara, we increase the time for mathematics and reduce the time for English, and maybe a different sort of syllabus for English, and so on and so forth. So you have to see what are the people, what are the children under your care, and accordingly then develop your curriculum to suit them, And then you've got the children. What's very important is that the teachers must be able to identify this problem, identify it, analyze it, and then find solutions to all these problems. So technology was very important in the 21st century. It's not just word processing and so on and so forth. So we wanted a very strong learning and management system. It's not like people say, oh, we use technology, we use WhatsApp, messenger system, and so on and so forth. No, this is a platform, a learning platform, and a management system, a management platform. So we discovered this startup company in New York, Schoology, of which we were also part of it. So we were providers as well as users. Now we have got into we have developed our own to incorporate everything that we have done, and called Impulse. And then Pulse, called Pulse of the school, Pulse, the core of the school. So with this, it's not just learning where teachers and students interact online. It's also a management system, which is very important. You could actually track children from as soon as they come to school. We have early years now because I have grandchildren now, so we started early years. So from early years right up, if they stay with us for 10, 11 years, 12 years, you could actually track the children. Because, we children are not like you say, oh, this child is so clever and everything is right at the top. No, it goes up and down. So you have to track the children. If the children, say if you are weak in languages in year 1, what could be done when you go to year 2, year 3, year 4. So teachers, new teachers that take you would have a record of your work, which is very important because then they could see the strength and weaknesses of the child and see what can be done next, to enhance and to hone the potential of the child. So the management system is very important. And you know what we found? Children actually, because our system looks like Facebook. So they feel that, wow, this is our world, this is our landscape. And what we found, actually, just like us adults, we like to, read Facebook, we like to make comments. Children too. And this is very good because the children who are quiet in class, suddenly they are very active online. They want to say something. They always argue. There's a lot of interaction. So that's really very, very good. Well, I think time is running out. Yes. So maybe I cannot finish this. There's still a lot more. So I will welcome you to join me in my next few series. I think I've got about 8 more lectures to go through until I complete this tenure of adjunct professor. So join me next time. But now maybe I need to take a few questions.
Thank you, Dato Freida. I think the story, you have not finished your story. I think we'll need to listen more of your story. As you said, there are more series coming on. So don't worry if you missed the first session. We'll still have add more live sessions with Dato Freida. Maybe one day she will come to UTM School. Then we have kind of proper chit chat after that. But for now, we have to take questions. But before that, I think I'm inspired. I'm truly inspired by your story of how you started when nobody did that. Nobody have the private school has started private school at that time. You started it, and then people say you crazy. And then you go to the bank. Bank said private school are not going to get you money. You want to loan 1 million. That's crazy. And I think there are lots of crazy things that you've been, but you have the vision. That vision, your courage. You are not giving up. I mean, you stick to what you believe in. I think those are the qualities that our generation, the young generation, should learn from you. I think those are the things that we need so badly now among our young people. But then let's go for the first question from Dr. Akil Khan. He's our international lecturer here. He said, Assalamualaikum and thanks, Dato Freida, for a very fruitful session. Can we have more private school, the English plus Islamic in Johor with affordable fees. Since from my understanding, if we talk about quality private schools, i.e. English plus Islamic in Johor, we don't have many options. Mostly private English mediums, but difficult to find Islamic education there. And a private Islamic school, difficult to find English medium. So he is juggling between I want an English medium private school and also Islamic medium Islamic school. So how do you see about this model?
Okay, actually, Encik Akil, right? Yes, Mr. Akil.
Dr. Akil, yeah.
Dr. Akil. The thing is, Dr. Akil, when we started a national private school. The medium of instruction is BM actually, but our English syllabus followed the British curriculum. So it was of a higher level. So people always talk about, they want an international school because they want an English school. They want an English medium school. So now many people actually go to Islamic school. First, I think they want it because it's English medium. But what I would like to say, the language is just a medium. What is important is actually what is here, what is your desire, what is it that is important. The language is not important, whether you do it in Malay, English, well, the Chinese do it in Mandarin in China, and look at them, Actually, I think the idea is we must embrace learning. We must embrace learning. So when we started, it was a national curriculum. Can you imagine? Children, Chinese, Indian, Malays, they did it in Bahasa Melayu. But the English, English, bilingual, they're equally good. But at the moment now, some people, they are bilingual, but Malays also have past 6, English is also have past 6. Neither of the language is good enough, So I think you have to be very serious about it. We started our international school only in 2002. My second decade of Cempaka, I started. Malaysians are not allowed to send their children to international school. So we had a very few children in the school. And I actually fought for Malaysians to be allowed to go into Malaysian school. So Alhamdulillah, at first the government said, okay, 30%. I even asked the minister and I said, why 30%? Why can't you give us more, 40% or even 10% or 100%? And I remember he said, come on, Freda, 30% to cukup lah. I've given you 30%, But eventually, when Khazanah put money into Marlborough College and they couldn't say cannot, you can't send to Malaysians cannot go to international school because Marlborough says, now look, you want me to come here and now you don't allow your children to come here. So therefore then ministry opened up international schools for all Malaysians. So I started in 2003. So really, I think the idea of that you can only do it good, you can only have quality education with one language, I think I do not agree with that. One, I think you can use any language, but you have to do it properly. You have to embrace learning. They must embrace learning. Children, students, parents embrace learning in any language. It doesn't matter, but you have to be serious about it. Even Ugama school. To me, Ugama school, I it's wrong for me to say. Well, I can't say much, but I would like to ask, why do you send your children to Ugama school? What is it? Is it because you want it in English? Or is it because you want the Ugama part of it? What is it? Then if you know why, then maybe you can select the best school. Another thing also, Doctor, I would like to say, some people, when they choose schools, they'll just say, oh, it's okay, for their own convenience. Just send the school down the road, But how is it when you want to go to a restaurant, you don't mind traveling miles to go and eat asam pedas or somewhere, right? But for your children's education, it's okay, I just go to the school just down the road. That's it, Well, I think we need to...
That's very good. I like that. It's very good to say that you can be very picky about the thing you want to eat, but when it comes to your children's education, it's like, yeah, whatever nearest to my house.
Yeah. And then also people talk about, oh, I want affordable education. And in fact, for some time, people even market their school, universities overseas and say, come to Malaysia, we have affordable education. I disagree with that. I think we come to Malaysia for quality education, not affordable education. Because you see, education is an investment. It's not a consumption, it's an investment. Investment in the future, you know. So people, and also people get this wrong idea to say, oh, international school is an elite school. No, I think there are so many types of schools, you know, but I feel that you shouldn't look at whether it's affordable or not. You have to make it like, you know, you have to earn a living, and you have to put education as top priority. You know, education and health, these two things must be your priority. You know, forget the house, forget the cars, forget the antiques, the jewelry, you know. But there are people, they put a lot in the house, in the cars, and so on and so forth, you know. And I feel that education is far more important than all those things.
Agree. Okay, I think take note on that. And we have a second question from Dr. Doria Abdullah. Actually, I got your number from Dr. Doria. She said she had a dinner with you before this. Yeah, so she said, yeah, your story is very inspiring. As a market pioneer in private education, you are such an inspiration. So, but if you can add an additional component into the Cempaka curriculum, what would it be? You talk about arts, you talk about science, you talk about languages. So, what would the additional component you want to put into the Cempaka curriculum?
Okay, the additional component that I really would like to, from young, you know, we must make the children to love learning. To love learning, and it must be a lifelong journey, you know. When I talk, I'm actually trying to promote lifelong learning, and a lot of people misunderstand what is lifelong learning. They think lifelong learning, oh yelah, Frida ni dah 73, dia dah suruh kita lifelong learning. Meaning, you only lifelong learning when you're old. No. I said lifelong learning starts when you're in the womb, you know, and it must be something that you must embrace, and you must make it a habit, you know. So now, I would like to do this. And also what's very important is to teach children, even from young, when they embrace learning, when they're curiosity driven, they become independent learners. This is important. Independent learners. We cannot, you know, when we teach children, actually teachers and all that, you know, when we teach them, we must learn the art of leading questions, not giving them a question and you already have the answer in your head. And then when the children say something, oh, that's wrong. For instance, I'll give you an example. Yeah? A long time ago, there was a standard 5 exam, the government service, the government examination system, right? And then there was a question, kalau pergi ke zoo, apakah anda lihat di zoo, kat sekolah zoo? Now the children, you know, you are only about 10 years old, right? When you go to the zoo, what do you see? Well, of course you see animals, but you also see plants, isn't it? You also see plants, you see flowers, you see other things besides the animals. But the marking scheme did not put plants and flowers. So salah, wrong. And even, you know what I mean? So, so that's, you see. So we want children to actually embrace learning, and for them to be sort of their own master and their own idea that they want to be an independent learner, you know. And this must be taught to children from very young, right up to university, to everywhere, because otherwise, I always tell the children, you come to school not to study, you come to school to learn. And if you can embrace learning, you can master learning, examination is nothing. And even if you don't do very well in one exam, I said the biggest examination is an examination of life. You know? Yes. And school is a training ground of life. It's here where you learn to make friends, you learn to fight, you learn to offend people. Now you must learn not to be offended by people. You see bullying in school. What happens during bullying in school? Oh, because somebody teased me, right? So you get angry and then you fight back. I say, no. You must learn now not to be offended. Not to be offended by what people say. They can say anything, only sticks and stones will break your bones. They can see anything. If they say something, tease you, do you go blind? If you go blind, then you have to take action, But you don't go blind, you're still beautiful. So why do you worry? So when children learn this, they will learn not to be offended. Just like us adults, people say something about your religion, say something about your race. So what, I'm still Frida, I'm still Melayu, I'm still Muslim. You can say whatever you want to say, it doesn't matter. So we armor children with this, and as we get older, we are okay.
Yep.
I mean, that's how I feel.
Yeah, exactly. That's what my mom taught me. She said, your brother, your sister tease you, nothing follow from you. You're not hurt. There's no pain in that. Just your heart. So it's like nothing. You don't have to take offense on what they said. I think that's a good one. I learned from my mom, and I'm not passing it back. I'm passing it to my children. But anyway, let's go for the third question.
And my father used to say this. He used to say, "What's the worst thing that can happen to you?" Now I'll be thinking, I don't know what's the worst. Yes, the worst thing that can happen to you is you die. And we all die. So why are you worried? That's it. Okay, shall we take another question?
Yes, this question from Associate Professor Dr. Zaleha Abdullah, one of our lecturers here. She said, what would be your topic of interest if we were to initiate research studies with Cempaka Schools? Like, would you want to do study in critical thinking, creativity, or dealing approach for the generation of the alpha generation? What if you want to start a research study? She's interested in doing study with Cempaka School.
Oh, yes. But actually, I was thinking, like I mentioned recently, I mentioned to you, Prof. Fatin, I actually did art. I did art 2 years ago. I did the International Baccalaureate High Level Art, for 14 months. And people think art is just painting, it's just drawing. Actually, it's very wrong because you see, visual arts is teaching you to look at things differently, in a different perspective. When you learn art, you actually got to learn techniques. Okay, you got to learn techniques, you got tips on how to do certain things, you got to learn to make paints, you got to learn control. There's so many things that you learn. So creativity is not just in painting. Creativity, when you do art, you actually learn to solve problems. How do you come up with, let's say, when you want to paint the eyes, how do you make the eye look sad, look bright, So you have to learn the technique. So you actually learn how to solve problems. So when you talk about solving problem, you are actually teaching critical thinking. And the best way to do this is actually through visual arts, because it goes beyond just learning to appreciate art, learning to do it, to strategize, and learning to solve problems. Let's say when you are doing watercolor, you have to learn how to manage the water and the color, not too much, not too little, and so on and so forth. So every time you do it, you're actually learning to solve this problem. So over the couple of months, you actually train your brain that every problem there is a solution. Yes, people don't see it this way, but try it. Even when you talk about performing arts, the same thing. You are actually learning to solve problems. Let's say when you are singing, how do you solve your problem? How do you throw your voice across to the end of the hall without a mic? You know, how do you go high pitch, low pitch, and so on? And even the way you shape your mouth when you sing, you have to learn everything about your throat. So you're actually learning to solve problems. And then when you performances, there's a lot of teaching children about commitment, responsibility, teamwork, and this is also about thinking, critical thinking. You know, how do you learn teamwork? You have to learn how to learn to do teamwork in a creative way. How do you influence people? How do you sort of encourage people to work with you? You have to be creative. You have to understand the people around you in order for them to work with you, isn't it?
Yep.
So
Yep.
isn't that being, creative in your thinking?
Yeah. So what actually Dr. Zaleha is asking about, if we want, as researchers in education, like you want to do research or studies at your school, what would be the topic that would be nice to do study? Like, do you want us to do studies on your students' critical thinking, or their creativity, their team working, or their problem solving? Something do you think? I mean, can we collaborate to work together to do studies or research at your schools?
Then what I'm saying is that if you were to come and see us do performing arts, from there you can see how the critical thinking is developed. It's not like, okay, this is a textbook. To do critical thinking, you must do A, B, C, D, E, F. But if you were to come and see how they are doing it, then suddenly you realize, oh, they have solved this problem in a very unusual manner, in a very creative manner.
Yeah, so if you look at there's a question from Dr. Niza Ibrahim. Can we show, Trizati, can you show the question here from Dr. Niza? She's saying, so what kind of curriculum that Cempaka School use for primary school, and can we make a visit to Cempaka School? I think the lecturers are getting interested to go and visit and observe your students, how they bring about the creativity and critical thinkings from the work that they've done in schools.
Yes, of course, you are most welcome. Now, in the primary school, secondary school, there are two different emphasis actually. In the primary school, I've always said the emphasis is on building foundation. Like, for instance, you are teaching English, yeah? And then you're teaching English, the foundation of English. That means you have to really be good in your grammar. The components of the language, you have to really be good at it. Then when you go to secondary school, then you should be able to use the language in a more creative manner. That means you should be able to write. We shouldn't be concerned about grammar anymore because you can write. Then you must concentrate on your writing skills, how you write, the way you write, essays, and so on and so forth. So in primary school, it's foundation work. Like mathematics, they have to do foundation work. Sometimes people say modern maths, you don't have to learn multiplication tables. But in Cempaka, you have to learn that, the foundation. You have to build the foundation. Secondary school, then you use what you have learned in your foundation to apply what you use in secondary school. Now, in a primary school, we also have specialist teaching. So we have maths specialists to teach maths, English, science, and so on and so forth, And then we have other things in school, like for instance, Genius Hour. Genius Hour in the secondary school, children are allowed to do what they want to do in 1 hour. They can follow. Yes, they can follow their passion. And then we have what we call Rag Day, really anything goes day. That means for that day, say Dr. Fatin is a teacher here. What's your hobby, doctor?
Playing games. Just try that.
Computer games?
Sort of, yes.
Okay, computer games. You can have a class on computer games. So I can actually enroll in your class. Children can enroll, other teachers can enroll. So like a maths teacher, she cannot have maths for that day. She has to do something else. Like what I did, I had a flower arrangement. So I had a flower arrangement session, so people can enroll as my guest and as my students. It could be students,
Yeah.
just anybody. Somebody taught Russian, you know. We had a teacher who could speak Russian. She had a Russian class. He had a Russian class for that day. So really anything goes. That means we're telling children, look, you can turn your hobby or whatever you like or your passion into something that you can share with other people.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yes.
So actually, they're doing what we call it. The students are the owner of the learning. They are the owner. They are the person who decide what they want to learn. That's why it make learning become joyful.
And then you know what, doctor, what happened is I heard about this girl. She wanted to teach cupcakes, you know, because she likes to make cupcakes. So now that she realized that she's got to actually practice this at home, and the mother said the kitchen was like a war zone, you know. So that again includes being creative in their thinking. How to do this, you know, how to find solutions, or how to teach to make cupcakes in school that's perfect.
That's very good. They can try a lot of things themselves. Yeah. Okay, we got one question from Shafiq Yani. He's asking, hi Prof, my question, we are graduates of Bachelor of Education from local university. Can we apply to your school as teachers?
Of course. And
because
remember,
natural path for yeah.
Of course, I remember I'll be interviewing you. Of course.
Yeah.
And we also invite people do come here as interns.
Right.
Yes, you can come here and be interns. You can even come here for a practicum.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. We should put it in our list. There's a question from Prof. Yo. Prof. Yo Kija. He's asking Dato, if I may ask, what did you gather from parents on why they send their children to your school and not other schools, especially national schools? Why they choose to send their kids to your school but not other private school or not other national schools?
I think many of them actually appreciate the discipline that we have. The discipline that we have, the academic rigor that we have, as well as all the other things that we want to make the children whole. But the core is always academic work. But at the same time, we place a lot of importance in, like I said just now, strengthening the body corporate through games, teamwork, and then nurturing the soul of performing arts and visual arts, you know. So I think the parents like that. And of course, we've got also Cempakans with their children coming back to school, and they can see the development, you know. But you really must listen to me for my next lecture. But you know, doctor, if you want me to talk about education, I can go on for 3 days and 3 nights.
No,
And
keep it for the next lecture. No, we don't say anything about that. We'll make it for next lecture, so they will come back again to listen to your lecture. Don't talk about it. So that's why I think we have enough of question and answer for today. I just want to show some comments. Okay, let's show from Dr. Doria. She's saying that she agree. You answered her question, and she said she's agree with the embrace of learning. So thanks, Dato. And Dr. Akil also replied to your question, the answer just now. He said, thanks, Dato, for your creative views. I agree, education is very important. May Allah bless you. And Dr. Zaleha, she also replied saying, amen to visual arts. That's my cup of tea. She's our graphic. She's very good in graphic. Very good. And also in the impressionism of painting. I also want to show a comment from one of our PhD students, Mr. Bako, Aliu Bako. He's from Nigeria. He said, stimulating and changing ideas, Prof. Your ideas are transferable and will be tried in my country. He's from Nigeria, so he really like your ideas, your adventure in setting up the school in here. So he's thinking of probably doing that in Nigeria, maybe. There's one comment from Jackie Ong. from Mr. Jackie Ong. He said, I wish to compliment you. You are a true educationist with great passion for what you do, far-sighted and have put in extremely hard work. You are truly an inspiration to the younger generation. I totally agree with what he said. And to break that question I asked early on, how old is Dato Freida? Let's show the answer from Dr. Doria. And I didn't break the answer, but she's like picking up from your top, like she said, Freda is 73 years old. You definitely don't look 73. Honestly, I thought you're like 40 plus something, but looking at the history doesn't make sense. Okay. So, and last of all, from Farah Shaliza, said, Dear Prof. Dato Freida, thank you for the most inspiring story. Blessed to be part of Cempaka family. She's from Cempaka. She's a Cempakan. Yeah. So I don't think we have time for the talk. We exceeded 15 minutes from the planned 1 hour session. We hope everyone can come back again for our next lecture. We don't know next month or the months after. We'll see the schedule of Dato Freida. She's very busy. She has been working as the teacher, the head teacher, the administrator, the driver, the office boy, the cook, the cleaner, everything. So she's very busy. Dato, you are very pretty. Dr. Zaleha said. I agree. I concur totally with that. So thank you so much again, Dr. Freda, for your time. We'll see you in the next session, inshallah. I've learned so much from today, and I think your energy, your positivity, everything that you have been doing is such, I think, things that we must learn and we must emulate in the future. Thank you so much, Dato, and goodbye. Assalamualaikum. I give back to Dr. Nina.
Thank you so much. Hi. Thank you so much, Prof. I think it was a fruitful session. Everyone was bombarding us with the question, right?
Yeah, and people still asking question. What is your secret of beauty? Now we'll ask her in the next session. So Dr. Jamila, stay tuned for the next lecture. We'll ask how she stayed in such an age with such beauty.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. Atin, for moderating the session very well. So thank you everyone for staying with us. I believe everyone has gathered all the information, all the tips and tricks needed for you. And then for our next session this coming Sunday, we'll have the session by YBhg Datuk Dr. Habibah Abdul Rahim, where she will share the Malaysian Education Blueprint 2013-2025, examining the journey thus far. She is the Director General of Education, Ministry of Education Malaysia. So make sure to stay tuned this 13th September to watch live Datuk Dr. Habibah with us this 13th September. So make sure book your calendar. And also for those who are just coming to this show, make sure you can see the recorded session in our FB Live. Just check into Facebook, Faculty of Social Science and Humanities, and then check the videos and you can see all the comments, all the inputs in the videos, as well as in the YouTube of Faculty of Social Science and Humanities. Till then, see you guys this Sunday. Bye.